To you, big Chelsea fan, as we know. Enzo Maresca leaving the club after 18 months. First manager in Premier League history to part ways on New Year's Day, incidentally.
Ouch.
What was your immediate reaction when you heard that news? Because it was a huge news, wasn't it?
Gutted, probably gutted. I've quite liked Maresca. I think he's done a really good job at Chelsea. It's funny because pre-December, I think a lot more fans would have been outraged as well. You know, we just beat Barcelona. That was a very good result, obviously, against Arsenal in the draw at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea had, I think, positive results against Burnley as well.
Premier League Manager of the Month, I think I'm right in saying,
exactly,
in November.
Yeah, in November. So I think he'd done a lot of really good stuff at Chelsea. I think he'd done really well to bring through a lot of young players. It's a super young squad. He himself was a young manager in terms of his experience as well. I was gutted, to be quite honest, but I guess it's kind of, I feel mad to maybe be gutted because is it that surprising maybe as a Chelsea fan, like especially under possibly this new ownership as well. We've seen a manager sacked after a few months. We've seen a manager sacked within a year of Pochettino. We've now obviously seen that happen with Enzo Maresca. I think if he's not fitting within that kind of structure, they're more than happy to let you go.
Should we get Luke in? Because obviously I'm intrigued to know your thought from a neutral perspective. Like Zach's spoken quite emotionally as a Chelsea fan. He makes a good point about if you'd have said this a couple of months ago in the situation that Chelsea were at. It was only last season they won 2 trophies, didn't they? The Europa Conference League and the Club World Cup. So what's your assessment of how this is unfolded from a neutral's perspective?
Just don't understand it at all. I saw that news on New Year's Day and I was like, that can't be right. You know, one of them where you check it and you think that's fake or something. And I saw it and I was like, don't know what they're really doing. There's a few reasons as to why it might have gone on. I know that, at the start of the season, even at the end of last season, there was talk of him maybe moving on, but just doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. I don't really know where they go from here, especially with what he's done. I thought he's done really well. Coming from City, he was at City actually, when City won the treble. Went to Leicester, did really well there. Chelsea pick him up. I thought he's done a very good job at Chelsea. I mean, I think the trophies speak for themselves as well. And then for him to go, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, he was being linked, sort of. In some reports, we saw David Ornstein talk about it being one of the reasons he potentially left the club with City to replace Pep Guardiola in the future. Where are you on that?
Yeah, well, the Pep replacement question is so strange because I've had it so many times and you never really know when Pep's going. And everyone wants to, other than City fans, obviously wants to think it's sooner rather than later. But you'd have said the same thing 5 years ago. So I'm hoping he stays for a bit more time and he's got still a year and a half on his deal. So.
But would you take Maresca when the time comes that Pep does go?
I think he's an option.
Would you be happy with that?
But it's one of them. He's not quite done that much, but I think maybe the fact that he was maybe flirting a bit with City and he did let Chelsea know because he was contractually obliged to do so, maybe that's not helped his case at Chelsea.
Just finally on Maresca, how will he be remembered? What will his legacy be? Obviously the 2 trophies, a lot of money was spent. There's so much going on with Chelsea. There's a lot of managers that have been in and out. How do you think he will be remembered by Chelsea fans?
I think the trophy wins. The Club World Cup's a big one. I think it speaks to any Chelsea fan. To win the first one of that size of the level of competition they want it to be. Obviously, there won't be another one for another 3 years or so now. I think that is a huge accomplishment. It's odd in terms of, I don't think he fully, at least maybe the Stamford Bridge crowd, I don't think he fully got them on board 100% of the time. We even saw most recently when he subbed off Cole Palmer, there were the chance of you don't know what you're doing and stuff like that. So, but it's kind of I think like the Chelsea fan base is kind of split down the middle at the moment. Some people who aren't too bothered by him leaving, and some guys who are very passionately on the other side and would have wanted him to stay and believed he did a really good job. I'm probably more on that side than the other. But look, as a Chelsea fan, it's like they say about, if you're a Championship fan, and it's like, don't get too attached to a loan signing. I think that's the same for a Chelsea manager, really. Never get too attached to a Chelsea manager because you're only a month away from them going.
Wow.
Let's look to the future a bit then. We're going to ask you to predict who you think is going to come in as the manager of the club. First and foremost, is there a name that you obviously have been linked with? I think we're all aware that we're just going around a little bit, but let's get it out of the way. So you're linked with him. This is your prediction.
Yeah, Liam Rosenior. Obviously, the whole Blue Coat project. He is currently the manager of Strasbourg, has done a very good job there as well, fits in within their structure. Look, people can sit here and say, why aren't they gone for maybe a more established manager, maybe a bit more of a fancier name, Xavi Hernandez, who's out there, Glasner's obviously out there. But this is somebody that fits in their project. I think this is one of the things that people need to realise sometimes when talking about Chelsea. It's all around this project. It's all about the structure and how it works in there. You are a head coach, not the manager. You're a head coach, and he's doing that very well at Strasbourg. I mean, How it will go down with Strasbourg fans, I dread to think.
How's it going to go down with
honest.
Chelsea fans? If Liam, when Liam Rossini walks the team out first game, how is it going to be a split at the bridge there?
Possibly, but I think that would have been the same case for every manager since Tuchel. Even when Tuchel took over from...
But particularly
from
Liam, let's focus on
Lampard.
Rossini.
Yeah, I don't think every fan in the world is going to be over-enamoured and overjoyed. However, I do think, like every football fan, once there's someone's in the dugout, you're backing him. You've got to give him your support. You want to see what you can see.
You don't seem convinced.
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
What are your thoughts, Luke? Because all the reports we hear is that it's looking like it is Liam Rossini.
With all
What
due
are your thoughts?
respect, Chelsea are an ambitious club. Is that an ambitious appointment? Is that somebody you can see lifting a Champions League, a Premier League?
Probably not right now. But would you have said that about Enzo Maresca at the time, who had just come up from winning the championship with
Potentially
Leicester?
not, yeah, potentially
not. So I do understand, and Chelsea have done in this structure, because that's what we've got to remember when predicting it. It's this structure. Chelsea have tried it with the big name in Pochettino.
Yeah,
that didn't go well. That we finished in the Conference League. Obviously, I think we would have been in the Europa for a few different things. But yeah, so it does seem like it's going to be him. He fits in that structure well. I've seen interviews and I think he speaks really well. I saw some people taking the mick out of that clip. I actually didn't think it was that bad. I think if you chuck a camera in any dressing room at half time, a manager's never going to come out looking fantastic. But I think he does a really good job. I'm interested to see how it works. I think he plays a similar system, so I don't think it needs to go too crazy in what Chelsea need to change and how they play their football. But it's a big job. It's a big job, and it's going to be a big test for him as well. And he needs to. It's that first press conference, the first interview. If he can just handle that well, then that will help him really.
Interestingly, we've asked who your predictions. I think that's bang on. I think we all know that it will be Liam Rossini. But who would be your pick as a Chelsea fan?
If I'm totally honest, I would have kept Maresca.
Right.
Like, that would have been it. I think the players were on board with him. I think he got Chelsea. We've seen how his Chelsea can be. They can beat Barcelona.
Great in big games.
They can.
Big games.
I think what he still needed to
PSG
learn
performance.
was maybe the smaller games. You know, when we go away to Leeds, that isn't just going to be a walk in the park. If you believe what the reports are saying, maybe he didn't have full license to be able to play the squad he would have wanted to play in some of those games. But I would have kept Enzo Maresca. There are other names out there that are fun. I like Iriola, and obviously he's been rumoured about a few different times to move to a few different clubs. Glasner's obviously doing an amazing job at Palace. The Porto manager is a really interesting one. But there's no one. I don't think the manager market right now is out there where I think you kind of said that with Pep, if someone was to replace him. The manager market right now isn't a place where I think there are just all these amazing managers who are ready for a big job and have all this pressure. I think kind of with everyone, 99% of the time right now, anyone that you hire is going to be having a lot of pressure.
Are they losing power, though, managers a bit? Is that what you're trying to say? Because you're saying here that, he's going to need a lot of time at Chelsea, which in reality, based on your previous managers, he's not going to get a lot of time.
But I think he will get time if he is agreeing with what's being said. If you get what I mean.
That kind of shows, though, like the managers are losing power, and that's maybe why you're saying there's not these big characters like the Mourinhos of the world, because they're just not getting that, they're not getting let off the lead, I guess. It's kind of just like...
Is that the right way to go, though? Do you think that's the right way to go? Because obviously
To an
at
extent,
City, you see Pep still has massive amount of power, doesn't he? You look at Arsenal, who are flying at the moment. Arteta feels like he's got a massive amount of power there. I think a lot of the best clubs, that managerial model still works.
You've got to
You're talking about the structure of the
you've
club
got to
here.
give a lot of power to the right people, though. Do you know what I mean? And maybe it is a case of, you give him time and he gets some more power, but... If you gave Maresca a bit more power, who knows where you might
But
be
it's
now,
also
do you know
tough. Like, what does he have to do to get that pack? Maresca won 2 trophies, one being a Club World Cup, beating big teams in that process, PSG obviously in the final, and then publicly comes out to say he wants a defender, and is kind of essentially told that's not what's happening. And look, but partially that's due to having really talented young players who need experience as well, signing a new contract, and also having to deal. Like Chelsea do have a lot of centre backs too in that squad. I also think it's about having. I wonder whether Maresca felt like this actually is a time where Chelsea could push on to go and be a possible title challenger, and whether maybe actually the structure of the club thought less so, and it's more about being top 4. If that structure thought, yes, we want to try and win the title, then maybe Chelsea would have got another centre-back.
Well, you mentioned the centre-backs there. It brings us nicely onto this part, because on the board now, we've given you a little task, as you put Rossini as magnet, because that is the prediction you think of who will be the next Chelsea manager, and it's what we're strongly hearing. So what we've got on the board, we've got Maresca's final ever Chelsea team. So just for for context, this is the starting 11 from Chelsea's midweek game against Bournemouth, which finished 2-2. You're going to go position by position and tell us building the perfect Chelsea 11 under Liam Rossini, so you can change personnel, you can change formation. We want to get your take on who you think the perfect 11 will be. So tell us, firstly, formation.
I think it's going to be very similar to this at the moment. It's funny now. I think modern day managers don't really believe in a set formation. I think Liam was also one of those as well. He's publicly come out and said that, look, it's kind of just to write on the team sheet for the referee at the start. I think, Chelsea can set up in a 4 at the back. We've seen it with Maresca. When Chelsea have the ball, they want to go to a back 3. The right back or left back comes into midfield. We've seen other teams and managers have an overlapping fullback. He actually does do that at Strasbourg as well. I know he's playing a 3 at the back at Strasbourg, but I think he'll kind of come into this 4. I don't think too much will change in terms of formation-wise, and even the way Chelsea play their football under him, and that's kind of the whole point in their project.
An easy transition.
So let's start from the back then and talk about position by position. So keepers, because an interesting talking point here, isn't there? Penders, who is on loan from Chelsea at Strasbourg, who Rossini likes a lot. So what do you see happening with the goalkeeping situation? Most passes of any goalkeeper in Europe's top 5 leagues this season, so likes to play the ball out.
Yeah, goalkeeper's always one about Chelsea, I think, over the last couple of years, has always been spoken about. Rob Sanchez, I actually think, to his credit this season, has been much better. Much better. He did have, obviously, the blip against Manchester United, where he was sent off, but I do think he's been pretty much at a bog-standard Premier League goalkeeper level this season, if not slightly above. Chelsea's way of playing, they want their goalkeeper on the ball. They do want that. And that is something that Sanchez, I'd again say 80% of the time, does pretty well. Penders, as you've already mentioned, statistically, doing very, very good at that as well. He is still very young.
Very young.
Very young. And there are highlights, and as any goalkeeper in the world will be, it's a tough position to do, but there are highlights where he has also made errors. And it's a very different job making an error at Strasbourg to making an error at Chelsea. Just ask Rob Sanchez. He's dealt with that and dealt with the backlash of that as well. So I think it'll probably still be Rob Sanchez, but maybe kind of in and out with both of them next season. I'll be kind of shocked if Chelsea go and buy a brand new goalkeeper.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the keeper situation.
So I'll leave Sanchez there for now, but again, I think it can...
Let's do the back 4 as a whole, and then we can get Luke's opinion on your back 4. So who is a mover and a shaker within there? Because that is not the best...
No.
We'll allow injured players in here as well, so Colwill can come in.
For sure. So I think Trev would be dropping to the bench for me in this one. I think he would be one of the guys that would be rotated in and out with the squad. I think he's a very good player, but I think it very quickly becomes Wesley Fofana as the right centre-back and Levi Colwill, who obviously unfortunately suffered that injury this season.
Huge miss this season.
Yeah, he really has been, genuinely. I don't think people have appreciated enough the level he got to with Chelsea last season. So that would be my starting 2 centre-backs. Josh Achapong, I really think, is somebody that's super, super talented and can eventually break into that first-team defence. But he is, of course, not my starting right-back. That is none other than the captain, Reece James.
That's a talking point, though, because he's been playing in midfield a lot.
Yeah, and I think he still will. Like, I think in this formation, like, he still will come into midfield and stuff. That's kind of how it works sometimes now. Like, yes, there are times when Malo Gusto actually starts there and he does start in midfield. But if I was showing you my kind of strongest Chelsea team and how it would play, he would be the starting right back.
And then the left back.
Left back, I presume you're going to go Cucurella?
Yeah, it would be Cucurella. I really like Malo Gusto. I think he's one of the best backup right backs in the world.
So stick Cucurella. Let's get Luke's thoughts then on that as a back. So again, this is presuming everyone's... injury-free. What are your thoughts on that as a back line under Rossini?
Yeah, I think it's a decent back 4. I think the goalkeeper, again, there's a lot of Chelsea fans questioning Sanchez. I think he did well in the Club World Cup. This season, I think he's been all right, but he's got a mistake in him. I think the back 4's solid. I think the 2 full-backs are the stronger points. I think Fofana and Colwill are both good, but I think maybe you might just be in search of a little bit more experience there. I think when Chelsea had Thiago Silva, think about how much of a rock he was. Maybe a bit of an older head there. You look at look at the two teams probably better than Chelsea in the league. Arsenal and City, you've got Ruben Diaz in there. You've got Gabriel, I think about 28,
Stones,
29.
yeah.
Stones. So you think about maybe a little bit more experience in the middle, but I think that's a solid back four. I think the fullbacks, like I said, though, the two stronger players in that.
Okay, let's go to the midfield then.
Any changes?
I wouldn't really be changing much there. I think there's a really interesting point around Andre Santos. And last season he was on loan at Strasbourg, had a fantastic season there as well. Probably a bit more kind of where Enzo is rather than where Caicedo is, but can kind of do both roles pretty well. I think it wouldn't surprise me if there's a world where possibly Cole Palmer has moved to a wing and he comes into that side as well, and you can see a 3 midfield of them. But I wouldn't be changing that right now.
Okay.
I think that's something which maybe he might change slightly in certain games, but I think that is Chelsea.
Okay, so that's your midfield three. Yeah, 15 goal involvements in 34 games under Rossini for Strasbourg Santos, so definitely one to keep an eye on. So that's the three. So should we do the front three now?
Any changes?
Yeah, so the front three, I would possibly look at moving Garnacho as like a rotating with Pedro Neto. One of the really interesting things actually in that Bournemouth game was it kind of revealed that Esteval can play on the left really well. He caused the Bournemouth fullback, the right back anyway, a lot of issues. I mean, he is such an exciting player, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans have a lot of hope on him this season. But there is also a world where he can play in the 10, and Cole Palmer plays on the right. He can play on the left, and Pedro Neto plays on the right, or on the left with him on the right. So I think it is a combination of the four of Palmer, Esteval, Neto, maybe Neto swapped with Garnacho in and out.
Okay.
I can probably give that one to you.
Okay, so we'll stick Neto on for Garnacho, and then finally up top, who's your number 9?
So this is
This has been a bit of a struggle.
It's tough.
There you go. Great work, Luke.
So I really like Lindelof. I think there's a lot there for the future, and he's going to have game time in order to get better. There's a really interesting relationship of him, obviously, at Hull City under the possible new manager, and he actually used him a bit more as a winger in that side as well. So I doubt we'll see that happen for Chelsea. There's obviously João Pedro, who's at the club right now. I like João Pedro. I know there's a little bit of a feeling, I think, in the Chelsea fan base that he's actually not been that great of a signing. I would tend to slightly disagree.
He's done all right.
I think he's actually been okay, pretty decent. And then there's Nicholas Jackson, who I would be saying bring him back as soon as possible. Like, I never understood the loaning out. I never understood it completely, especially if it was a loan with a really tough way of getting an obligation to buy. It doesn't look like an obligation is going to be happening either. It looked actually more so that he wanted the move rather than Chelsea wanting to move him out. In my world, I'll be bringing him back and starting up front.
Stick him up then. It's your team. Luke, just quickly then, there's Zach's confirmation. Where do you think that team finishes? What's your thoughts?
Where does that finish?
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that side?
That magnet's struggling, by the way.
There we go.
Where does that finish?
Yeah.
First.
I think it finishes this season. I think it finishes 5th.
Okay. Well, let us know what you think. There is confirmation
Champions League
of Zach's dream Chelsea 11 under Rossini, how he thinks they might line up. Let us know what you think of that at home. Welcome back to Saturday Social, where we are joined by Fuad and Faisal. Right, Joe, big week, big fixture.
Massive.
Real Madrid against Manchester City, bit of a Premier League versus La Liga, two giants in action. We've also seen Barcelona take on Chelsea recently, and of course we've got a Premier League fan and a La Liga fan in the studio, which brings us nicely onto this section.
Oh, this is perfect timing, isn't it, to do a La Liga versus Premier League combined 11. We're going to go position by position to see how many players from the alternate league they can get on